Prabhu, can you please unmute yourself?
Yes, Mataji, done.
Okay.
So let's take a Kirtan. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, all devotees. Yes, I hope everybody can see. So chapter 4 is Gnana Yoga, Yoga of Knowledge. So this chapter, in the beginning, the Lord gives us a rough history of the Gita, as stated in the Gita itself, as he himself states it. Then the principle of disciplic succession, Guru Shishya Parampara, and the way of receiving this spiritual knowledge. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manur Ikshvakave Abhravit. The blessed Lord said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivasvan, and Vivasvan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind. And Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. So we see here Lord Krishna to the right here at the top, instructing Bhagavad Gita to the personality of sun god Suryadev. So his name is Vivasvan. So then Suryadev, Vivasvan, is one of the Devatas. So he is instructing to his son Manu. So Manu, there are Manus who come after a specific period of time. So the present Manu, we are in which time we are there, is the son of Suryadev. That's why he's called Vaivasvata Manu. So he was spoken the same Bhagavad Gita, the knowledge by his father, Vivasvan. So Vivasvan is speaking to Manu. And Manu in turn is giving this knowledge to his son, Ikshvaku Maharaj. Maharaj Ikshvaku. So then the Lord says, Evam parampara praptam imam rajashayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashtaha parantapa. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. Actually, Bhagavad Gita is a science. So many times we think today what the science presents is science, and they even manufacture a word called pseudoscience. No, actually what they are teaching today is pseudoscience. So real science is the knowledge which is consistent, which is existent, which doesn't change. So in more than so many ways, the understanding what we get in the so-called science today keeps changing. The same thing or the same concept after a certain period of time is completely different. So if we actually understand in terms of the standardness of the knowledge, without any change, so the real thing should be told as science, which doesn't change. In so many ways, the concepts in science keep changing. So that is actually one way pseudoscience today. Anyway, I will not go into the detail. But here, Acharya is very nicely translating the supreme science. The Bhagavad Gita is a supreme science, and the way it is spoken. This is the previous recent version what Krishna is saying before he spoke the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. We all know Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna roughly in the Mahabharata, just before the Mahabharata war. That calculation comes to around 5,000 years. This is the recent time Bhagavad Gita was spoken. But just prior to this, Krishna is giving that I spoke it to Suryadev Vivasvan. And Vivasvan spoke to his son Manu. And Manu spoke to his son Ikshvaku. So that way it was coming from one person to another, one person to another. Overall, saintly kings, Rajarshi. So they were not ordinary personalities. They were fully responsible administrators. So they knew what are the rules of dharma. So that's the rule of dharma particularly is summarized in the Bhagavad Gita. So having understood that, so they were ruled accordingly. So Krishna is telling, but as things over time get spoiled, anything gets spoiled over time. So this knowledge of Gita also, sakale nehamata yogo nashtaha. So this knowledge this understanding of yoga. Yoga, Krishna also talks about this as yoga. So it became destroyed. So we can infer what is it that is getting destroyed. It is not the physical words or the shlokas which will get destroyed. It will be there, but the understanding becomes distorted. So that is what it is meant when Krishna says yogo nashtaha parantapa. What the actual meaning, what Krishna meant when he spoke the Bhagavad Gita to Suryadev. Then Suryadev repeated the same to Manu. Manu repeated the same to Ikshvaku. But then the spirit of Bhagavad Gita, the actual intent of the Bhagavad Gita, was lost over time. So Krishna is saying it was lost. So then Krishna says, that is why I am again re-speaking the same Bhagavad Gita to you, Arjuna. So there are roughly the time when Krishna has spoken, roughly the universal time scale is being discussed here. Yes, so Krishna says, Sa evayam mayate adya yogaha proktaha puratanaha bhakto asime sakha cheti rahasyami etat uttamam. So that very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you because you are my devotee and friend and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of the science. So repeatedly Krishna, Prabhupada, Acharya is saying, it's a science, he's repeatedly saying. What is that science regarding? Ancient science regarding the relationship with the Supreme. Yoga itself means connection of ourselves, the Jivatma, the Supreme Lord Paramatma. So Bhagavad Gita is that knowledge, the standard knowledge, standard understanding without any change. So the same thing Krishna is telling, because it is lost over time, I am re-speaking to you, Arjuna. And here we understand this verse, what is the special qualification of Arjuna. So Krishna says it is rahasya. It is very, very confidential. What is it confidential? So it means it is not so easily known. It's very secret. Not everybody is able to grasp this knowledge, grasp this import. So Krishna says such a confidential knowledge. I'm speaking to you because you are my devotee, bhakta. So this is another thing we understand. So Arjuna is a devotee, so he is able to understand this knowledge. Without being a devotee, devotee means understanding Krishna's supreme position and then carrying out our relative duties to him, our spirit of loving service to him. So unless we do that, it is very difficult to understand this Bhagavad Gita. That also we get to understand in this verse. So anyway, first of all, Krishna spoke this knowledge of Gita in the previous time was coming from him to Suryadev, to Ikshvaku, to Manu, Ikshvaku, kings like that, in a Gurushya Parampara. The same thing which we are saying, this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, even today, it is to be received in a Gurushya Parampara. So Padma Purana, there is a statements which says there are 4 bona fide Guru Shishya Paramparas. Just like sometimes the government authorizes, says, these are the colleges which are recognized. These are the institutions, these are the universities which are recognized. Similarly, like that, Padma Purana, the Vedic literature, where Vedavyasa composers, lists 4 Gurushya Paramparas. It says, one Gurushya Parampara is coming from Lord Brahma. First of all, Lord Krishna speaks the Vedic knowledge to Brahma. Tene Brahma Rudaya Adikavahe. So Brahma receives the Vedic knowledge from Krishna. Starting from Brahma, there is a whole system of Gurushya Parampara. Brahma's next disciple is Narada Muni. Actually, of course, Brahma has many his sons and disciples. Narada Muni is chief among them. And Narada Muni's disciple is Vedavyasa. Narada Muni also has many disciples. But primarily, to the present time, we say Vedavyasa is a disciple of Narada Muni. And Vedavyasa composes all the Vedic literatures. He has also many disciples. But one of the main disciples for the time we are now in, where this knowledge is propagated, is Madhvacharya. So that's how we find here, to the right here, this Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So in Madhvacharya's same Gurushya Parampara comes Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord himself, as an avatar, joins this parampara, connects himself to this parampara. And 11th after that, in that line comes Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya. So whatever the knowledge given by Srila Prabhupada here is what is spoken by his Guru, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, his Guru, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, his Guru, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, his Guru, Jagannath Das Babaji. Then it goes back one to one back to Krishna. So that is what the knowledge is passed on without any change. So this is one Gurushya Parampara, which is called Brahma Parampara. Similarly, there are other Gurushya Paramparas. Padma Purana lists one coming through goddess Lakshmi Devi. This is where Sri Ramanujacharya comes. The Alvars, we hear of 12 great Acharyas, Alvars. So they all come in this Sri Lakshmi Parampara, Sri Sampradaya, Sri Parampara. Similarly, there is one more Parampara coming to Lord Shiva, through Lord Shiva. So that is called Rudra Sampradaya. In that Rudra Sampradaya, a famous Acharya called Vishnu Swami comes. So it's called Vishnu Swami Sampradaya. Because the present time, the Kali Yuga, these acharyas become the predominant teachers. These sampradayas are also named after them. Madhvacharya Sampradaya, Ramanuja Sampradaya, Vishnu Swami Sampradaya. But originally, it is coming from Lord Brahma or Lord Goddess Lakshmi or Lord Shiva himself, Rudra, or the four Kumaras, the sons of Brahma, which is called Kumara Sampradaya. So in that Sampradaya, the present great Acharya in this time is Nimbarka Acharya. So the importance is that we receive standard spiritual knowledge, standard Vedic knowledge, standard understanding of Gita through one of these sampradayas. Just like one wants to become educated in a particular field as a lawyer, as an engineer, as a doctor, any field for that matter, he should go to a recognized institution and apply himself and get the standard understanding. Similarly, so understanding of Gita, the spiritual knowledge, the Vedic knowledge, the Gita, the spiritual knowledge, one has to go through one of this parampara. So that's how the knowledge, we can say, is without any distortion. Otherwise, it's not a matter of speculation that my one's own attempt, by one's own expertise, by one's own so many other capacities we may have, we can understand what is spiritual knowledge, we can understand the Vedic knowledge, we can understand God. It is not possible. So this is the beginning. In this chapter, we understand the importance of Guru Shishya Parampara as the way to take the standard understanding of the Vedas, standard understanding of spiritual knowledge. So when this might have been spoken, so there is a time analysis given here. When actually this happened, when was it that Krishna spoke this knowledge to Suryadev before he spoke to this Arjuna? When was it? When was it? So there's a calculation. If we this chart, I think later you can analyze and try to understand. So roughly, the time is relative. So Brahma's time is 1 day time is equal to 1000 cycles of 4 ages. We have this Satya, Treta, Dwapara, Kali rotating like seasons. So the Kali Yuga is the shortest time span, about 4,32,000 years. And then every preceding age is double, 2, 3 times, 4 times. So that's how the whole 4 cycles comes to around 4 million years, 40 lakh years. So this over 1,000 times becomes the day of Brahma. So that's the standard Brahma, because Brahma is living for a very long period of time. So from his time, a huge time, to shortest time, there is the time in calculation of what is microsecond, nanosecond, what we may talk of like that. The Vedic time scale, it is there. So that is an analysis given here. So as per this understanding, roughly it comes to Krishna speaking to Suryadev 120 million years ago. 120 million years ago, 12 crore years. So it's a long period of time. It's a long period of time. So the first time when I read this, the Gita, when I thought 12 crore years ago, I completely doubted it. I thought, how is it possible? Because I used to read in my school days or college days, whatever I had read, a history wherein before to 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years, people were supposed to be primitive. People were supposed to be in dark ages. Now itself, the modern human being has come up, Homo sapien. Before that, there were so many other things. So how is it possible to believe all these things? So this was how we were thinking, because I don't know what is, that was 25 years ago, 25, 30 years ago. What will the situation of students in the schools today? I don't know, because the way the children are brought up, exposed to a kind of knowledge, that is what makes their whole outlook of things, that makes their convictions, the determination, so many things. So anyway, I was brought up in one kind of a school of thought wherein I was saying, what is this 5,000 years ago? Is itself difficult to believe what happened? And here Krishna is talking about speaking this Bhagavad Gita 120 million years ago. But no, we have to take the evidence from the Gurushya Parampara. Gurushya Parampara, what will preserves knowledge. Today, what they have today is so-called archaeology, fossil evidence, paleontology, all so much speculative science. So it keeps changing. The science itself, the approach of the science, the methods used to understand the knowledge is so much faulty. So there's so many faults in that. So better to take knowledge from a live person than from something which is dead. So anything, any knowledge, if somebody wants to find out how we came to here, or our president came to Mangalore and started the preaching in Mangalore, it is better to consult him than go about digging some earth or taking some samples and trying to find out when how actually it was that they started preaching in Mangalore, and now they're starting to build a temple. So better to take the knowledge from a person. So that is more tangible. So you can understand there's so many fallacies in the way of receiving knowledge through archaeology, paleontology, so many ways it is defective. Yes. Yes, this science is especially meant for the protection of the inhabitant, and therefore the royal order should understand it in order to be able to rule the citizens and protect them from the bondage, eternal bondage to lust. Human life is meant for cultivation of spiritual knowledge in eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the executive heads of all states and all planets are obliged to impart this lesson to citizens by education, culture, and devotion. Because Bhagavad Gita is as good as the Vedas, being spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this knowledge is apaurushaya, superhuman. So I was just reading some Piltdown Man scandal. So Piltdown, it is said, this was about 100 years back, 1910, 1912, something like that. Because they postulated that man came from monkeys. Homo sapiens became from monkeys. So then they need evidence. So they started finding some fossils here and there of some kind of a man, some kind of a ape and all that. But still they found a lot of gaps are there. They called it missing links. And then initially, I think, though Darwin, an Englishman, he proposed this theory. Later on, the other scientists in Europe, the other Germans, French, they took over. They started getting some evidences of so many fossils. So England was lagging behind. So they were feeling a little let down. So one person, I don't know, Charles Dawson, an Englishman. So he was the one in 1908, something like that. So he was an amateur, he was an archaeologist. So he brought out some samples. And then he went to the geological, whatever, institute there. One more personality, Woodward, some person. So then both of them got together and they came up saying, we found the missing link. So what Charles Darwin meant when he postulated theory, and what later on people are trying to find, that between the specimen, between an ape and man, we have found. So, and that is what they needed. The scientists were searching. So they got something. And actually, later on, for 40 years, 1912 to 1952, this was taken as a very great evidence supporting evolution, that there was a missing gap and we have found it. And that's how man has evolved. And so many PhDs were given. It is said some 500 or something like that people got PhDs on those same, whatever the specimen he had found out, the person, Charles Dawson. People did PhDs, people research papers, so much degrees, so many scientific conferences, things went on. But by 1952, the science has little evolved to a better stage, wherein they could have some fluorine testing, so many other testing, by which they can actually say what is the rough time when this object could have existed or something like that, depending on various tests. So that by the fluorine testing, then it was conclusively proved that what was initially thought to be a missing link, the Piltdown Man it is called, because that was a place where it was discovered. It is said whatever Charles Dawson, the person, he had used the skull of a human being, which was some not a few centuries, some 400, 500 years back, something. And the jawbone, the mandible, the lower portion, he had used of an orangutan, a chimpanzee. That was recently some 50, 60 years old. So they did not get to this understanding that this person has committed such a fraud for 40 years, and it went on as a science. So all over the world. So there would, I think Charles Dawson dies very early, but his friend who also is part of that conspiracy, whatever. So he goes on presenting himself as a great discoverer, and he was honored, so many things for 40 years. This is what always went on in science. So like this, we can see so many things going on in the name of science, which is actually not the real science, which is pseudoscience. So Vedas, we are not taking to such kind of a deficient understanding. We don't have people who are cheaters like this, at least. The Acharyas, the whom we have listed here, the great Acharyas. So they are above all these faults. A conditioned soul has 4 defects. We are under illusion. We are thinking we are the body, first one. Second one, we are prone to commit mistakes. Third one, we have defective senses. Fourth, the greatest disqualification for us, each one of us in the material world, is we are having cheating propensity. Each one of us, all of us have to a great, smaller and a higher degree. But a liberated soul, a pure personality, is beyond these things. So these great acharyas whom we have listed here, they are above these 4 defects. They don't have any cheating propensity. That's how when they speak the knowledge, we can immediately on their word take it. We don't have to doubt whether they have said it, whether it is said by Shankaracharya, it's said by Ramanujacharya, said by Madhvacharya. So if statements by them immediately give us the yes, this is it. They never doubted these words when Krishna is speaking that I spoke to Surya. They said, yes, it is fact. So on their authority, we should just take this step. Otherwise, it's very difficult. It's very difficult how to understand how it is 12 million, 120 million years ago, Krishna spoke this Bhagavad Gita to Sun God. So on the authority of the Acharyas, the great personalities who are above these 4 defects, particularly the propensity of being above the cheating propensity. So on their word, we take these statements. Yes, then Arjuna, even after this, just to make us little more understand Krishna's supreme position, because unless we understand Krishna's position, we cannot understand this aspect. So Arjuna wants us to make us understand. So he asks to Krishna, Aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvataha katametad vijaniyam tvam proktavaniti. Arjuna said, the sun god Vivaswan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? So Arjuna doesn't go into the thing what we have, the opinion. 5,000 years back, there was no human beings. There were only monkeys or apes or some this one. He doesn't have such understanding. He has clear understanding that living beings have been living for a long time. The cycles of ages are going on. So Arjuna is in the Vedic time, in the Vedapara Yuga, knows there are people living for thousands and millions of years ago. Arjuna knows that. But still, his doubt is just like he's taking Krishna to be his contemporary. Krishna and Arjuna are of the same age. Maybe I think few months, 5 months, 6 months difference, something like that. Or otherwise, almost they are contemporaries. So Arjuna is asking this question. Krishna, you have just taken birth along with me, and I've been seeing you. But now you tell me that you spoke this to Suryadev. And I know Suryadev is born a long time back. His birth is, they are Devatas, they are in a different planet in charge of the cosmic administration. So how am I to believe that you spoke this? So just for us to understand. Then now Krishna answers this. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavacharjuna tanyaham veda sarvani natvam veta parantapa. The personality of God had said, many births, both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you don't. So that is the difference between God and us. So Krishna and Arjuna. So because Arjuna is is a close devotee of the Lord, is an eternal associate of the Lord. So whenever Krishna comes, Krishna is saying here, Arjuna, you also come with me. Just like when a president comes, president has his own entourage, his own secretary, his own servants, his own friends. So they also come along. So like that, whenever Krishna makes his appearance in this world, his material world, similar at the same time, Arjuna also keeps coming. But Krishna says here, I remember all of those visits, but you don't. That is the difference between us and Lord. So this is Krishna and Arjuna as Nara Narayana Rishi. So that was when a long time back, when Krishna comes as Narayana Rishi and Arjuna is coming as Nararishi. They were born as twin brothers. So like that, Arjuna is a constant associate, but he doesn't remember because he is a Jivatma and Krishna is a Paramatma. So Krishna now explains his divine appearance. Ajopi san avyayatma bhutanam ishvaro pisan prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavami atmamaya. Ajo apisan avyayatma. We are also eternal. We also don't have birth. But Krishna is the Ishvaro Opisan. He is the supreme Ishvara, is supreme controller. We are forced by the material energy to accept the material body. But Krishna is not forced. We are forced to accept a birth in a particular family, particular country. Krishna has choice. So he chooses who his parents will be. He chooses the place of his birth, whatever is completely under Krishna's control. Prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavami atmamaya. I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. So Krishna's original form is spiritual. It is not material. Ishvaraha paramaha Krishnaha satchit ananda vigraha. The Lord's form, vigraha, is satchit ananda. So just like the soul, atma is satchidananda, Krishna's body is itself satchidananda. The Varaha Purana states, deha dehi abhinnatvat. There is no difference between Krishna and Krishna's body. For us, there is difference. I, the spirit soul, am different from this body. So each one of us are different. There is duality for us. But for Krishna, his body and he, there is no difference. Krishna, Krishna's body, Krishna's name, Krishna's activity, everything related to God is absolute. So it doesn't, because it's of a different nature, it's of a spiritual nature. So Krishna says, because I appear in my original transcendental form, my body never deteriorates. I remember everything. We forget because we change our body. So even in this lifetime, because every day we change our body. Our body is taking some food, we are breathing in some oxygen and then giving out. So it is changing. Because of the constant change, we forget. And we have so many activities as child, so we don't remember anything. But Krishna, because in the same body, he doesn't forget. Everything is crystal clear. Krishna knows everything, past, present, future. It's completely perfect. So that's because of his spiritual body, which is always with him. It looks like as if Krishna is also taking birth as a small child when he appears as a son of Mother Devaki and Vasudeva. But then it appears as if Krishna is growing as a coward boy, then he's becoming a youth. It appears like that. But these are all actually different transcendental bodies of Krishna, eternally existing. So Krishna's body as Bala Gopala, Krishna's body as just taken birth, Krishna's body and as Parthasarathi. These forms are always there. So it's only that one of those forms are visible to us at one time. Otherwise, these forms of the Lord are said to be like the sun traveling from the east to west. For somebody, it appears as if the sun is just rising. For somebody, it appears as if sun is over his head. Full sun. Sometimes it appears as if sun is setting. So similarly, the Lord's appearance in this world to our existence appears like Krishna is there. One form of Krishna is there. Then another form of Krishna as youth, as Parthasarathi, so many forms. But these forms are always there in one of the universes because there are unlimited number of universes. And like the sun moving, Krishna's different forms are manifesting in one of the unlimited universes. So Krishna's form is continuously there as a child form, as a youth form, as a baby form. It's continuously there. So it is like understood with the example of the sun, just like the sun can make itself visible to different people at the same time in different ways. So Krishna, also the Lord, Supreme Lord, who is the creator of even this sun, he can exist simultaneously in many universes and carry on his divine pastimes. So Krishna's forms are always there. So one of the form we see at one particular time, and we think this is Krishna's body changing. Krishna's body doesn't change. It is spiritual form. It is dynamic. It is always same. It is always like that. So interestingly, Krishna does not display the form like an old man. We don't find any time in the history of Krishna in the Bhagavatam or anywhere Krishna is spoken of as being very old, as being deceased. No. Interesting, Lord shows this youthful form and then that's it. There is no question of having old, dwindling form. It is not there. So then why does Krishna appear? When does Krishna appear? So Krishna says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam sujamyaham. So whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of the Bharata, and a predominant rise of religion, at that time I descend myself. So finally, it is a responsibility of the government in the country to maintain law and order. Similarly, it is a responsibility of the Supreme Lord to maintain that law and order in the whole universe. So whenever there is a discrepancy, there are the devatas who take charge. They are competent enough. So, but still, the Lord himself sometimes takes personal attention, personal care. So he comes down and he reestablishes real dharma. He vanquishes irreligious elements. Actually, he doesn't have to do it. On his behalf, the devatas are powerful enough to do it. So more so, the Lord comes out of his compassion, because after all, we are his lost children. So just like a father has that affection, the Lord comes down to see us, to deliver us. That is the main reason why he comes. Paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. In order to deliver the pious, to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion, I advent myself millennium after millennium. So here Krishna has come to kill Kamsa, because he's so much, he gave trouble to Krishna's parents, Devaki and Vasudeva. Vasudeva and Devaki are devotees. So in previous time, they had prayed. They were actually Prajapatis in the early time of today's day of Brahma. They were great devatas. They are called Prajapatis, who are responsible for populating the universe. So they had undertaken severe tapasya. And when the Lord appeared, they had asked for the Lord that we want a child like you. That was their previous life as Sutapa and Prashni, Vasudeva and Devaki. As Sutapa and Prashni had asked for the Lord that we want a child like you. Then the Lord had promised that I will myself will become your child thrice. So first time he became what is known as Prishni Garbha, having been born from Prishni. Second time he became Vamana Deva, born of the Aditi and Kashyapa. Third time they became Vasudeva and Devaki. Then the Lord appears as Krishna. So Krishna, this time Kamsa was troubling him. So Krishna comes down to kill Kamsa. He does that. He protects Vasudeva and Devaki. He kills Kamsa. He does both. Main reason he comes for Vasudeva and Devaki. So he does that. He killing Kamsa. He does that. But main thing is for his devotees. He comes for that purpose. So when Krishna says here that I come yuge yuge, every age I come. So that means Krishna comes even in Kali Yuga. So we have the Satya, Treta, Dwapara, Kali going on age after age. So Krishna keeps coming. These forms keep coming. Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narsimha, Vamana, Parashurama, Rama, Buddha, Kalki. So these forms, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an incarnation mentioned in the Vedic scriptures. Not directly. Many times it is. There's a direct reference also, but still not so overtly exposed, because the Lord is coming in the form of a devotee, not to disturb his pastime. So it is mentioned in the Bhagavatam itself. There is a mention. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshanam Yagnai Sankirtana Prayer Yajantihi Sumeda Saha. The meaning says the intelligent persons in the age of Kali will worship the incarnation who comes as a devotee, who starts the Nama Sankirtana. So there is a mention in the Bhagavatam. Even Prahlad Maharaj has a prediction regarding that. Channaha Kalau Abhavat Atasat Triyugaha. The Lord in Kali Yuga, because he is not overly manifesting himself, Channaha is covered. That's why his one name is Triyuga. The Lord's one name is Triyuga, who appears in 3 ages. But otherwise, Krishna has clearly said, even in the Gita, I come every age, Yuge Yuge. And that covered incarnation in Kali Yuga is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there are 6 kinds of incarnations listed. One kind of incarnation is called Purusha Avatara. Purusha Avatara are the incarnations of the Lord for the material universes. There is a spiritual existence of the Lord, the Vaikuntha Lokas, the Goloka. There is a material universes. So there are 3 Purusha Avataras: Mahavishnu, Garbhodaka Vishnu, Kshirodaka Vishnu. The Vishnu forms, the 400 forms of the Lord. So they are called Purusha Avataras, responsible for the creation, maintenance, and destruction of this material universes. Then there is the Guna Avataras. taking charge of the different guna, sattva guna, rajo guna, tamo guna. That is as Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Lord Vishnu. Then Leela avatars, they are incarnations which come for displaying various pastimes, various loving activities Krishna displays as Karma, Kurma, Matsya, Varaha, just for fun. They're not just for fun, one way to attract us, to again make us interested in the Lord. That is the Leela avatars. Then there is a Manvantara avatars, which appear in the time of every Manu. Then there is Yuga avatars. As we heard, Krishna said, every Yuga I come down to establish Yuga Dharma. And Shaktya-vesha avatars. Shaktya-vesha avatars are empowered personalities. The Lord gives his specific power to a Jiva to act on his behalf. So sometimes by knowledge, sometimes by the strength, sometimes to different ways, it is said. The avatars exhibit the Shaktya-vesha avatars. So this is the incarnation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for Kali Yuga. Yes, what is the benefit of knowing Krishna? Janma karma chame divyam yevam yo vetti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. One who understands the nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So, what is it? What is the importance? Why we are celebrating Janmashtami? Why we are interested in knowing about Krishna? Because our whole root of our existence in this material world is due to forgetfulness of Krishna. So now, if we revive this understanding, revive this knowledge about our understanding of Krishna, the factual understanding, so there is no more cause for us to remain in this material world. So just like orphans having forgotten their, or somebody in their loitering the street. So that is our exact position today. So we have a rich father, we have a competent father, loving father, the Supreme Lord. But having forgotten, we are rotting in this material world. So just by understanding who is this personality, Krishna, the Supreme Lord, why he comes, what are his different activities, how he controls this cosmic manifestation, what is the purpose of this creation. So these things Krishna is telling, particularly Krishna's appearance, Krishna's Janma in this material world is divine, is divyam. So Krishna says one will get released from this material bondage. So just by that, otherwise there are so many methods of austerities one practices to even understand, just understand I'm not the body. There are so many austerities recommended in the scriptures. Previous times people used to do, that was a slow method of self-realization, wherein one tends to first of all understand how we are in ignorance, having identified with the body. First of all, to come to understanding I'm not the body. Then the further understanding, not only that I am a spirit, soul, I am an Atma, there is a Paramatma along with me sitting in the body. So that is the yogis, they do the meditation. That also takes a very long period of time. Then when they understand, yes, not only I am there as Atma, there is a Paramatma. This Paramatma is none other than the expansion of the Lord. The Swa-amsha expansion of the Lord. So then they take shelter, they surrender to Krishna. So it's a very long time process. But in the Bhakti Marga, we are directly given the understanding, directly given the information. And then we practice this bhakti, the process of bhakti, it becomes perceivable. It's just no longer a theory, it becomes a practical realization. So that's why Krishna says here, if somebody understands, just understands, that's why the Krishna Acharya translated the book, Krishna book from the Bhagavatam. So we read it, we understand it, we digest the book. So then, just by that, we can go back to Godhead. Yes, that is inconceivable potency of the Lord. The inconceivable potency. One way is we ourselves try. Somebody is fallen in the water, fallen in the well. He tries to himself to come out of the well. Another is somebody at the top of the well, he throws a rope or he makes an arrangement to pull out a person on the well. So that is the easier method. So the method of bhakti, wherein the Lord has given us a method to understand him, that is faster, that is easier. The other method is where by our own endeavor, by our own this one, it may or may not happen. It's so improbable. Yes, difference between Krishna and us, just a summarization. Krishna's form is spiritual, our form is material, it's temporary. We have a body, inner body of mind, outer body of mind, intelligent, false ego, outer body, gross body, earth, water, fire, everything. Krishna's body is not like that. There is nothing like Krishna's mind, Krishna's gross body, nothing like that. Everything is Krishna. That's why when Krishna says man mana bhavamad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru, it is not that we have to think something inside Krishna. Krishna is absolute. We are controlled by Maya. Krishna is controller of Maya. So this illusory energy, this energy which is keeping us under ignorance, that we are this body, Krishna doesn't have all these things. Just an example is shown, just like clouds, the sun is above the clouds. So it seems as if the sun is covered, but sun is never covered. We are covered with the clouds, so a sun appears covered. Similarly, Krishna is like the sun is above, and we are like below the clouds, we become covered. Vitaraga bhaya krodha manmaya mam upashrita bahavo grana tapasa puta madbhavam agataha. So Krishna says, many people in the past have, by practice of devotional service, mam upashritaha, they have become freed from fear, anger, and attachment. So due to ignorance, we have all these things. We have fear, we have anger, we have attachment. So Krishna says, many people in the past, having taken shelter of me by the process of gnana and bhavo gnana tapasa, by getting right knowledge, by following the right method of austerities, they have become purified and they have attained to my destination. Mad bhavam agataha. So here is a instance of Shishupala being killed in this Rajasuya Yagna, because he objected why Krishna should be worshipped as the supreme personality, because there were so many. He from the beginning had envy, had jealousy. He was Krishna's cousin, but still he had this envy. Krishna is an ordinary person. Krishna is not the supreme lord, and so many things he had. So he raised objection in this Rajasuya Yagna. So that was when the Pandavas, Bhishma, he defended Krishna. Bhishma Pitama said, because when Shishupala said Krishna is so lusty, so many things, Bhishma Pitama said, no, I am known as a Akhanda Brahmachari. So I maintain my principles so strictly. But Krishna is much greater, because Krishna was amidst the most beautiful women in this world, the gopis, but his lusty nature was never agitated. Because Krishna is creator, he doesn't have that thing. But if I was supposed to be, suppose I am in the middle, I cannot say. Of course, Bhishma Pitama is a liberated soul. He's also no question of getting, but still he defended Krishna like that in that Rajasuya Yagna. But then later on, still Shishupala was not ready to accept. He wanted to continue criticizing. So then that was then Pandavas, they wanted to kill him. So Krishna once for all left the Sudarshan Chakra and killed Shishupala. So as everybody could see, interestingly, the soul of Shishupala, the real person, generally we don't see like that, but Krishna made it visible like that time. So they saw everybody that Shishupala, soul, came out and merged into Krishna. So this is what is called Sayujya Mukti. So some spiritualists, they're called impersonalists, they think to become one with God, that is perfection. So Shishupala achieved that. Shishupala was given that liberation, wherein the spirit soul became merged with Krishna's body. So Brahma Jyoti is nothing but Krishna's bodily effulgence. So it is said that is given even to a demon who criticizes Krishna. So Krishna is so merciful. Even somebody is killed by Krishna, they achieve this kind of liberation. But devotees get a much higher state of liberation, which is called Sarupya, Samipya, Salopya, Sarshti, wherein they get the spiritual forms like the Lord, and the spiritual bodies, they have sweet dealings with the Lord. So that is the position of devotees. That is the actual liberation, liberated states. Otherwise, the Sayujya Mukti is not a complete liberation one way. There is also understanding regarding that. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tamstataiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha. As they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. Yes, so just like everyone in the state has to follow. Whether they are obedient, they follow the civil laws, or they are disobedient, they follow the criminal laws. Similarly, whether in the spiritual world or in the material world, everyone is following Krishna. Krishna has given, the Supreme Lord has given the dharma, has given the rules, regulations. So as we act the way, the Lord reciprocates. So in the spiritual world, every living entity has one kind of relationship with the Lord. Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. In the liberated states, they are happily serving the Lord. In the material world, in forgetfulness of the Lord, we are desiring so many material things. Somebody is desiring money, somebody is desiring power, somebody is desiring so many sense objects. or somebody is desiring some yogic siddhis, somebody is desiring to become merged into the Lord. Finally, the Lord is the sanctioner for everything. So that's why Krishna says, I reciprocate everybody as per their want. And the Nityo Nityanam Chetana Chetananam Ekoyo Bahunam Vizati Kama. He is the giver, he is the sanctioner. So, but without the knowledge of Krishna, even in this material world, even following the Vedic scriptures, generally we worship so many devatas. So Krishna talks about this devata worship here. It's not out of full knowledge. It's in little ignorance, because the devatas achieve whatever their powers, achieve the blessings, whatever we achieve from them. It's actually given by Krishna. Just like in the government, the prime minister, he makes the rules. As per the rules, then the cabinet ministers, they follow. They're not independent. Similarly, the devatas, they may give us so many benefits in this world, so much material things in this world, but they derive from Krishna. So, but this knowledge is generally not known. That's why Krishna says, men in this world desire success in fruitive activities, and therefore they worship the devatas. Quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive work in this world, but actually it is given by the Lord itself. In the 7th chapter onwards, we understand this more clearly. Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha tasya kartaram apimam vidya kartaram avyayam. So this is the scientific division of Varna and Ashrama, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Intellectual class, administrative class, mercantile class, and laborer class. So this division we find everywhere all around the world. Somebody is a teacher, somebody is an administrator, somebody is an agriculturist, somebody is a businessman, somebody is a laborer. It is there everywhere. But Krishna is telling, originally the Lord created it based on one's guna and karma. Krishna is not telling based on janma. So this is a modern concoction later, which distorted the Vedic system. But otherwise, originally, this is a scientific division of the society based on one's guna and karma. If somebody is in Raja, Sattva he will be Brahmana. Somebody mixture of little extra Rajoguna, he will be Kshatriya. Tamoguna, little mixture, Vaishya. And more Tamoguna, it's going to be Shudra. That was also the Vedic division. And karma, one will have different skills. So as per that guna, one will have different propensity of work. Based on that, this division is there, Krishna is telling. Even though I've created this system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer being unchangeable. So because Krishna does not become entangled in the cycle of karma. That's why Krishna is reminding us that even though Krishna creates, even though Krishna does so many things, Eve doesn't become involved with this cycle of action and reaction. That's why Krishna says, I am still the non-doer. Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spriha iti mamyo abhijanati karma birna sabhadyate. There is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruitive reactions of work. So Krishna is also working as a king. Krishna is working here, fighting in the Mahabharata. He promised, but still an instance wherein he broke his own promise. Then Krishna is working as a protector of cows and calves as a Vaishya. So, but Krishna is not affected by all the reactions of the work. Karmano yapi bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, what inaction is. So basically, karma means action as per the Vedic scriptures, the punya karma. And vikarma means the papa karma, which is against the Vedic injunctions. Primarily, intoxication, gambling, meat eating, illicit sex. They are the primary vikarmas. And then inaction is where action, which is not having a reaction, not having a material reaction. That is the activities of devotional service, which is the activity to please the Lord, which has no reaction. It is done not on our account, it is done on the Lord's account. So here is a great personality Rantideva, who is mentioned in the Bhagavatam. So he was a pure devotee. That's why he's an example shown of akarma. Even Narad Muni, his action is akarma. So he doesn't get involved in any action and reaction. There is no karma. So then the Lord describes in this chapter, the 4th chapter, different methodologies, different sacrifices by which one slowly gets to real spiritual knowledge. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods, devatas, by offering different sacrifices to them. And some of them offer sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. So I'm just reading the translation. Some, the unadulterated brahmacharis, sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control. And others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses. So mind and sense control, by the practice of that, one goes to higher platform of knowledge. Sacrifices to devatas for some result of sense enjoyment. Sacrificing one's very self in fire of Brahman for attaining impersonal liberation. Brahmacharis performing sacrifice of restraining from sex life and engaging in hearing and chanting. Regulated householders restrain their general tendency of engaging in sex and live regulated life. That is the text 25 and 26. 27 and 28. Others who are interested in achieving self-realization through control of the mind and senses and other functions of all the sense, offer functions of all the senses and of the life breath as oblations in the fire of the control mind. So this is the method of Ashtanga Yoga, Dhyana Yoga. Having accepted strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrificing their possessions, and others by performing severe austerities, by practicing the yoga of eightfold mysticism, or by studying the Vedas to advance in transcendental knowledge. Tapomaya yagna, yoga yagna, swadhyaya yagna, dharvyamaya yagna, so many kinds of yagnas this is mentioned. So all the Vedic formularies are given to slowly elevate us more and more in spiritual knowledge. Still others who are inclined to the process of birth restraint to remain in trance, practice by offering the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming and incoming breath into the outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance, stopping all breathing. Others curtailing the eating process, offer the outgoing breath into itself as sacrifice. All these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reactions, and having tasted the nectar of the results of sacrifices, they advance toward the supreme eternal atmosphere. Oh, best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice, one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next? So basically, Krishna is giving different methodologies which are given in the Vedic scriptures by which one can slowly elevate his consciousness. So we are born in the consciousness of animals, but then to evolve ourselves to get spiritual knowledge, there are various methods given in the Vedic scriptures. O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Pritha, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. But then to understand all these methods, all these aspects, and finally, the culmination of all this knowledge is to come to devotional service. So Krishna says here, to get to this real understanding, Tadvidhi pradipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te gnanam gnaninas tattvadarshinaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. So Krishna started this chapter by saying about the history of Bhagavad Gita, by talking about Guru Shishya Parampara. Towards the end again, Krishna speaks the same thing. Approach this, get this spiritual knowledge by approaching an authority, a guru. So one condition Krishna has already given, the Guru Shishya Parampara. The guru should be in a Guru Shishya Parampara. Another condition Krishna is giving here, Gnaninas Tattva Darshina. He should be realized. Just like suppose somebody is a doctor, but he doesn't practice. So what is the use? Just degree doesn't help. So similarly, work is also important. So one is authorization, another is a work. So similarly, guru is somebody who is authorized by his guru, and then he has realized, and he is by his work also is effulgent. That is how we understand the guru. So Krishna says, approach him with humility, with surrender, inquire from him, and then you will know what is the truth. So then further on, by approaching such as guru, what will happen? Yajgnatva na punarmoham evam yasyasi pandava yena bhutanya sheshani drakshyasi atmano atomahi. So knowledge from a pure personality gives us no doubts. Otherwise, we are confused whether this is correct or that is correct. So many philosophers, so many ideas, so many opinions. But actual understanding, clear understanding we get when we approach a proper guru in a Guru Shishya Parampara, wherein we understand here that everybody is part of the Lord. We are all subordinate to the Lord. We are eternally subordinate to the Lord. Complete science means to understand all living beings as part of the Supreme. Yes. Yena bhutani asheshyani drakshasi atmano atomahi. So that is real knowledge, real understanding, what we get from a real acharya. Yes. Then Krishna talks about the glory of this knowledge. So even a person who is so sinful, if he gets this transcendental knowledge, he achieves the supreme perfection. So Krishna talks about it. Yes. Thank you, everybody. This is the 4th chapter in brief.